Happy Monday, and good to see a few people that have been away for a while come back to class. And if you've had some injuries, surgeries, other mishaps, as usual, be careful. And I'll try to offer modifications. As you sit in Sukhasana, as we used to do a few months back, and I was reflecting the other day about how I've been doing these classes for 8 months, which seems kind of strange. But back when I started, I often did this sort of thing where you could actually sit in a chair. And we are going to be working with chairs today, so if you can go grab yourself a chair. It doesn't need to be something fancy like this one that you might damage. But you're not sitting back in the chair as some people might. You're finding your sitting bones, the front and back, and just making sure you know as you inhale forward and exhale back, like you're in a rocking chair, and your sitting bones are the rocking chair. The hinging or the wheeling, if I had little wheels on my hips, outer hips, and I could wheel them forward and then rotate, wheel them back. That would bring me into extension. It will travel up the spine like a potato chip curl. And then as I rotate the other way, the so-called tucking of the tailbone posture until I create a C shape. So you can play with this either in the chair, or once you have your chair, take it aside and start to come into Sukhasana and do it there. So same thing, legs are crossed. And the only caveat here is that for those of you who can't get your knees placed and upper leg bones placed comfortably down, you may need to create some sort of a chair. It could be a towel, like the towel rolls that we'll use. And that could work for you, because now you're on a little roll. You can roll behind the towel roll as you exhale, and you can inhale over. And this is going to turn the hips in that first pattern for the inhale. And then you can give yourself a glute massage in the process. Which isn't a bad idea, because we're going to be working, as we did last week, with these stabilizing underlayer of the glutes. So even just, since no one's watching and they don't care if you look goofy, and I certainly don't care if I look goofy, you can get a tactile sense of what this is doing, and the muscles that we're going to be activating in our core work. Now, Jim, I want you to be a little careful because of your situation doing core, but you should be able to do the mild versions of this. Inhaling, and now let's hold the inhale and hold the extension pattern. And then exhale, open the mouth, and just do that again. A total body expression of breath. Inhale, riding up the front line. And then exhale, opening up the back line. Inhale, we'll lift through the side ribs from the outer hip up to the armpits, pulling on your knees a little bit. And then you can press forward and you could also bring your hands into the picture. You could exhale with your fingers stitched together, like you're holding a big urn. Inhale, pull the palms to the chest. And then exhale, this time holding Baddha Hastasana. And now we create a level pattern of the hips. It's neither pitched forward or back, but for your body, something that feels just right. And then breathing, open the outer arms, Take an inhale here, and exhale, drop your right hand down to the floor and start to take a side bend. Inhale, lengthening through the upper side, and exhale, maybe bending the lower elbow. Keeping the sitting bones planted and actively pressing down into the towel roll, if you have it, of the chair, with that outer hip, that left hip if your left arm is up, right hip if your right arm's up, and breathing. So those of you who've been coming to class the whole way through, let's come up, switch sides. You know that I've been working on points of contact. So in this case, beginning yoga students just kind of fall over into a big, can I touch the floor? We don't care. We're just finding connection. We're finding the end point of our stretch of our fascia in this outer side, right side, and pushing into the right back of the sit bone, the anchor into the towel roll, the floor, and then just extending our smooth, even breath. If it helps, if you're a beginner, you can certainly open the mouth and do that, plugging up the mirror breath. And then we inhale, come to center. Sit. You should have a little bit of sense of stretch under the armpits now. So the shoulders, upper arm bones sit a little more naturally. Okay, and then we're going to come into Supta Baddha Konasana for a moment with a strap. So this is a little tricky for those that are not savvy to the supported Sukhasana. If you have a towel roll, if you're on your chair, come on down. Towel roll can go back for your head or your back. And we take the strap. If you don't have one, no worries. But if you do, take it around your low back, open your knees, and place the strap ends now in the inner knees. Now make a little loop. And if you don't have a strap and you're a newcomer, it's a good idea to get one 8 or 9 feet long. I use these boat straps. I think maybe Dave is here and he's a rower, so you might have a kayak strap because you can cinch it up easy. So we take that loop and we lift our toes up and we go right over the tops of the feet. So now we've caught the low back into this sling. So you should be able to have tension in the strap. And if you're a real beginner, you might just lean back like that and hang out, or even use your chair. And just do something like this. And that's fine. Because we're pulling the low back forward to pressure the feet forward. But those that can, you're going to go onto your back, so maybe your head is on the towel roll, and press the feet forward, and that's going to traction your low back a little bit. I have my hands on top of my hips, assisting. Don't overdo it. You just get a little back traction. The arms can go out to the sides now, the chest opens. So the movement of the lower spine and its weakness or strength is critical to our success in the yoga poses. Now see, if you're there, if you can just do something very small for me and start to point your toes, which are together, slightly to the right, like a pointer, and then slightly to the left. And as you do this, on exhale, see if you can feel the movement in the opposite hip. Okay, so this is subtle, but we'll get to it in a second. So these hip capsules are super important. And then if you've got the strap, you can use it to pull your feet up toward you. And just take that strap off the feet And for a moment, take a bridge pose setup with the knees bent, the arms by the sides. So feel the hips now to whatever degree you can. And let's bring the arms straight out from the side body. Inhale and drop the knees widely spread. Feet are planted over to the left. And inhale to center and drop the knees to the right. And your head can move in the opposite direction. I've got the rolled towel under my neck, so I get a little massage under the occiput. And then as you start moving in the spiral, start to push a little bit more with that upper knee on the diagonal. So we inhale to center and drop our knees on exhale to the left. The right knee is going to push away from us, lifting the right hip off the ground. Give a psoas stretch to that right gut. And feel the pelvic half, right pelvic half, neither too arched or tilted. And anterior posterior tilt. And then we go over to the right with the knees. The left knee starts to push forward and away, lifting our left hip off the ground. I'm going to capture this left hip in my hand. I want to make sure it's not tilted out of neutral. And just start to play here and feel as you push with the knee that you can tighten up your glutes, your outer glutes, just a little bit, so that they're not just maxing out the joints. Okay, now we're going to take the towel roll off the head for a second. You can let the strap stay on your body, it's not going to harm you. And as we pull the feet under the knees, let's lift the hips and slide the towel under our low back. And set it right in the sacrum, not in the arch of the low back, but the sacrum, and then pull the knees into the body. The knees can be about shoulder width, and the toes can be touching. So we're in a child's pose. Some of you have the flexibility to wrap your forearms and elbow joints right around the knees and capture them in a big embrace. But don't overdo it. Just take a few breaths to feel the shoulder blades moving apart, the low back fascia getting a little bit of a stretch. Now see if you can take your Baddha Konasana, your feet together, and capture your feet with your hands and your knees wide. So you're holding in the same way that we had the strap looped around the tops of the feet. We've got our hands. Now, if it weren't possible to use your hands, you could just grab your strap, which is on your belly, hook it around the feet, and just hold on and gently pull the feet toward you as the feet resist away. So we're creating a push-me-pull-you operation, and this should tone the core. So you can feel Uddiyana Bandha, the transverse abdominals firing to try and hold this more dynamic expression of the pose. And take a peek if you want extra credit, either with the strap or with your hands. Remember how we pointed our toes on the diagonal? Here you can see it. And just see if you feel anything. You might not. What I like to do is to take my hands through the space in the legs, capture the tops of the feet, and then point them on the diagonal. And all we're trying to do here is feel the tailbone in sync with the feet, which is subtle, and you may not feel it right away. This is going to be part of the work this week. As we drop our feet down to the ground, let's take our arms to bridge with the backs of the hands near the mat. Some of you like to do my trick of hooking the fingers under the mat and pulling back toward you with the mat to get the shoulders down. Inhale and exhale, lift the hips up, bring the knees parallel. Feet are hip width or slightly narrower.
And then move the tailbone away and flatten the low ribs. For this, you should feel your glutes. You can spank yourself, not too admitted. They're engaged. Getting goofy on Monday already. And that you're lengthening these psoas muscles that we did when we were revolving on our backs. But of course, if your core is weak, even to do what I did, which is a little bit naughty and not have any arm pressure down, requires enormous core strength. And it's not enough to say tuck your tailbone. It's really these glute muscles under the outer layer of the glute max and medials. You're really squeezing the heck out of these. And then you come down and pull your knees into your body. So let's go ahead and do one more thing. We'll lift the towel roll off for a moment, hug the knees, and want you to rock and roll and hold your outer knees up to seated. You can take a few rolls. Inhale back and exhale up, tucking your chin so you don't get whiplash. And then we're going to hold the outer knees, push out into your hands. This is going to tone your core. And you're going to feel those, maybe, those lateral glutes. And take this to your measure of extension with the legs. But don't forsake what I'm going to call the roots of the feet, which is going to be heels attached to my power packs around the sit bone muscles. And then the big toe mounds into the transverse abdominals right here. Let's just stay here for about 20 minutes and we should be just fine. No, that was about 20. So let's try that Supta Baddha. And if you don't have a strap, it's fine, but this is going to be very cool. It's going to be the work for Wednesday, so I want to preview. So we'll open our strap. We still have it around our low back. And this time, instead of looping it, and I'm going to come a little closer so you can see. I'm just going to lift my feet so you can see what I'm going to do. If I were in Baddha Konasana, I'm going to drape the strap over the ankles and then reach my hands to put the feet down the outsides of the strap. Let me back up and show you again. So I was in Supta. Take the strap open ends, drop it right over the inner ankles, then reach the arms outside the legs like that. Just pull the strap so now they're curled around my shins. So this gives me, if you watch for a second, guaranteed you'll love it. This gives me an assist in Setu Bandhasan or bridge. So I go down, I've got these threads around my shin and my low back, and I start to pull on the strap into my hands, and I lift the hips up, and I push the belly into the strap and move the tailbone away. Now you're going to feel those glutes. So I'm creating a dynamic tension in the body around the hip burning, pelvic burning. We get tired pretty quickly. We start to go anaerobic. And then we come down and release the strap from our legs and lift the hips to take it away. So let's go ahead and fish for our towel rolls once again and straighten our legs for a second. And tone the legs together, and we'll lift the towel roll up in the arms overhead. Make sure you're not too near the wall so that you can extend your arms. And we'll tone the legs in the manner we just had, hugging the inner thighs together, moving the outer hips forward toward the heels. Inhale the towel roll back to the floor beyond you, and then exhale back into the sky. As you do this, I want you to feel your pelvic girdle and whether the low back is arching or curling, and I don't really want you to have the low back moving at all. I want you to have now engage the core enough that you can move the arms independently, and just do about 20 of these inhale extensions and exhale coming up. Toes are flexed back toward you. Can't see my feet because I'm off frame a little. Then I'll reorientate myself. And I can drive the heels into the ground, so the sit bones are feeling like they have a connection to the heels. And the big toe mounds pressing forward as if against the wall to feel the engagement of the core. One more inhale, extend. Exhale, pull the right knee up toward you and tap. And just go for a little walk now. Take it easy. If you've got some issues in your belly, but notice how different than the past I'm having you keep the structure of the pelvis and the low back intact. This is no small feat, pardon the pun. And if you want to lift your head up and your arms up like so, and the knee comes in, and that doesn't bother your upper back and neck. And then we'll stop and pull the feet into under the knees for bridge and take our towel roll under our low back. And again, you can feel how the original exercise I was suggesting where I could pitch my hips over the towel roll that would bring me into an arch in the low back, or I could bring the hips the other way. But really what we want now is neutral. And then we're going to pull the knees into the body once again. And now let's capture the left knee in both hands. Right foot could go down, and it doesn't have to straighten along the mat unless you like it. And then I want you to just take your hands inside and outside the left knee. You're going to start to play ping pong with the hands as you circle this left knee out away from you on inhale, so rest in your left hand, then it moves forward, and then back toward you, where it rests against your right hand. So you can see what I'm doing, and I'm not just doing the usual thing we've done in class, which is to just crank on the hip like this. We're using some isometric pressure against the palm as we go out and away and forward, and then come back up the midline and toward us. Inhale, coming up the midline, pushing against the right hand and the inner leg, and exhale, pushing against the left. You don't have to overdo this, just getting a sense of the muscles that support the hip and the leg. Can we straighten that left leg up to the sky now? Pull the toes back toward us, and if you need a strap, take it around that foot. Grab the strap ends in your right arm. Right arm way up. Now you're going to push into that left leg. And you can even take your left hand to the top of the left hip crease, the outer hip, and roll it forward. Just gently push it forward. And so I'm, again, creating a dynamic structure of full press into the strap, full pulling with the right arm. And then I'm staying aware of what's going on in this left glute. So not just letting the leg and hip disengage. Simple stuff. You can come over a little bit to the right with that left leg. And we can travel a little bit out to the left, but not much. Point is not to stretch, but to strengthen. So let's switch. We'll pull both these in. And we'll transfer both hands to the right shin. Left foot goes down. And then we're going to just play that game of not only just rotating the hip joint, which could feel good to start with, then we're playing ping pong. So we're going up through the center toward us and exhaling out to the right. You can do both directions, but I don't want to get too complicated with the movement yet. This is my new revelation with what the hips do and how we can visualize it. Needless to say, I want you to think of the whole pelvic half as a circular spiral operation. And we're creating the strength in the inside of the leg and the outside as we push into our hands, hand resists. Then we're going to straighten the right leg up to the sky and kick strap into it and hold the strap ends in the left hand, push into the strap of the right leg. And you can take your right hand, I like my thumb right in the crease in the top of the hip, and push that right hip away and engage the muscles, the deep muscles in this right glute as I push. Move the leg a little to the left and a little bit to the right. Come back to center and release. Let's try one more bridge. You can stand your towel roll, pull your feet so that you can touch your heels with your hands. Arms down, shoulder blades broaden, chest lifts. Exhale, coming up with the hips. So once again, if I'm doing my work in my glutes and my belly, so my abdominal muscles, deep abdominal muscles, and my glutes are communicating, then I don't really have to do anything with the arms. So advanced students could just reach your arms up, let your shoulder blades, spines go down to the floor. But you don't do this if you don't have a lot of core strength, because it'll just be disastrous. And then coming down, and let's take a figure 4 with the left shin over the right, pull in the package and basket around that right shin, flex both toes. And we did this before, last week rather, and we're gonna push that left shin into the right knee. Even as we pull the right knee toward us with our hands, so we're creating dynamic resistance. Advanced students could take the shin, the whole left shin, into your left and right hand and test themselves by extending the right leg forward, hover. But I'm really engaged around these deep glute muscles, abdominals, and then pushing my left shin into my hands. Come back, and then I switch. Hands to symmetrical knees, and then we're gonna cross the right shin over the left, come in. Again, all these asymmetrical poses can be a disaster in the low back, which is why we're spending so much time trying to find these deep, subtle core muscles now as we push into our bind. And we're not just pushing the left knee that we're holding, but we're pushing that right shin into the left knee. And students can capture the entire right shin, holding the knee and the foot, and just extend your leg forward. Really engage your abdominal muscles and your glutes. Relax your jaw. And then come in, unwind, and can you get your strap one last time? And take it around the feet. And both legs go up to the sky. You're holding the reins of the strap. Toes are flexed back, feet are pretty close together. and then they're pushing outward. So push outward into the strap as you hold as high up as you can, and you'll feel those outer glutes engaging. Let's take the right foot out of the strap, and you can start to slide the right leg along the mat now, and just focus on that left leg. See if you can move the left sitting bone away from you as the foot pushes into the strap. So you're not getting into asymmetry. Simple, simple. And then we'll switch. So right foot goes up. Again, if I was being lazy with this, I'm cranking the leg toward me, thinking that the excitement is in the stretch. You can see how far I can get back, but who cares? I want you to push forward, and just as we did in figure 4, move this right sit bone forward on the towel. Then we release. So visually, it's not very exciting. Not very exciting. So those that can slide both legs forward and hold the core even here. So if you were to place your hands on your frontal hips, and remember the expression we just had in the strap where we had both legs around the strap, the feet, we're pushing out. Same action. Take your strap in your hands and reach back to the floor beyond you now for a big yawning stretch. Drive your heels into the ground and open your mid-back and chest, maybe even rolling under the back of the skull. Release. You come in, lift the hips, and take the towel roll off. Let's hold our knees. Give them a squeeze, and then we're going to roll up to Navasana again. So once you have these core muscles, abdominals, and glutes, Navasana is a piece of cake. But if you want to do a little more core, you can reach your arms forward, come down, and come up. Exhale, inhale. So what's the action of the legs? Maybe you can just do this. Put that outward expression of the feet, as if there were a strap there. In fact, beginners, stop and use your strap so you don't damage yourself. Hold the strap in the Navasana, push out. You can kind of slide down a little bit, and then lift up and go back. So this is a little safer for you. Again, be careful if you've had any abdominal injuries. So you should be getting a little more awakened in this transverse abdominals and the outer glutes. Let's sit in Virasana for a second on our shins. Check it out. And if this is hard for you to do because of your knees or hips, you can take your towel roll, squish it behind your knees, bring your knees a little bit closer together and sit on the towel roll. Start to work the calves open. And again, even here, in almost any pose, you're trying to find neutral. So remember we started our original sit. We had the towel roll, which we're now sitting on, and we went back behind it, and then the hips came forward. So you're always working with awareness of the pelvic girdle, and so you don't get into trouble. And then you find neutral, take your hands together and reach up for Baddha Hastasana. So the tailbone is heading down and the mid-back is lengthening up with the arms. We're going to do this in downward dog in a second. Same action. So we take the towel roll behind us. We're going to step our feet, arches of our feet onto it. But we'll come on the hands and knees first. And inhale, lift the chest, curl the toes under. Come to your first downward dog where you can stomp on the towel roll, bend your knees, and launch your arms forward. So look at your toes and spread them. Pull your belly in to engage your transverse abdominals. And then breathe. Whether or not you can straighten the legs is not of much concern to me. If the core is engaged, that's the main thing. In fact, if I straighten my legs, but I have no connection of my feet to my pelvic calves, that's dangerous. So bend and straighten. Bend, inhale, straighten. As you straighten, push toward the fingertips. Inhale forward to plank pose, pulling the belly button to the spine, and then come down to hands and knees. So let's do a little more work with basics before we get to standing. Hopefully I'm not being, I feel like I have a big shadow behind me with this sunlight. But it seems okay on the screen. So take your towel rolls to the side, have them handy, and we'll do cat and cow. But as we do, arching and curling, I want you to feel like you still have an awareness of the pelvic tilts, arching and curling. And again, our main interest here is the strength work. So now if we take the towel roll between the inner knees and bring the knees together and squish that towel roll. So shins and knees are together and curl our toes under. Inhale, look forward, and exhale, round, squeeze the towel roll. Same thing, inhale, look forward, exhale, squeeze the towel roll. Now, see if you can squeeze on exhale and lift the towel roll up. 2 inches, hover, set it down. Inhale, look forward, open the upper arm bones, look in between the hands, squeeze, engage the glutes, engage the abdominals, and just hold. This should be a daily exercise for you. And it's hard. You could get tired within 3 repetitions if you're really squeezing the outer hips in. One more for good measure. Inhale, exhale, squeeze. And now come all the way back to downward dog, squeezing your Tootsie Roll. You can have the knees bent to launch the arms forward on inhale, but then squeeze. Feet are almost touching. Advanced students, go ahead and turn your toes to the right. Take a side plank, squeezing your towel roll. Otherwise, stay in normal downward dog, and you'll get there in a second. Squeeze. Noticing the arch or the curl of the low back. Come forward to plank. Set the knees and the towel roll down. Sit back in Virasana. So, we haven't really talked about the upper body yet. Let's give the hips and glutes a break and take our straps. And most of this work I'm going to subject you to on Wednesday, but here's the preview coming attractions. Now we take the strap behind our upper back. So like you're out of the shower and you're scrubbing your lower shoulder blade tips with the strap. I've got the strap in my thumbs, like so. Now watch, I'm going to take the straps, I'm going to toss them over my shoulder one at a time. There goes that one. See how it's come up under the armpit? And then here goes the other one. Make sure that the strap lengths are the same on each side. Again, one goes over the shoulder, the other goes over the shoulder. And then I just hike the strap up like I'm wearing some sort of weird garment. So come closer so you can see what's going on here. Here it is. Toss, toss. And then I just adjust my outfit. Here's the back view. And now I'm going to take the strap into my hands and gently pull down. And you can be seated in Virasana, or you can be up on your shins like I am. Now we are working on our shoulder girdle core and pulling the shoulders back, but I want you to resist against that notion and flare the shoulder blades apart. And this is subtle work, so if you don't get it first time, it's okay. You can come up off your throne, and again, rather than trying to pull myself back into some back bend, that's tempting, I'm creating resistance that way, and then I'm working against it this way. And what I get is a whole structural strength for my shoulders. If you want extra credit and your strap is long enough, the hands slide along the strap and bring the arms like straight out. Now you'll be completely supported in your shoulder girdle. You feel all the musculature around the shoulders and support. So let's take that off. And again, preview of coming attractions. That should give us now a little more strength as we take a downward dog with the upper body. So come to hands and knees, curl the toes under. Imagine towel roll still there on the legs. As you come up, now feel like the strap is still under the shoulder blade tips. It's lifting them up and apart. And really walk it out. You can bend one knee to the other and push. You reach the shoulder capsules forward and extend them to your fullest measure. Go ahead and look toward the hands, jump step. Flat back and fold. Forward fold. Bend your knees a little bit. Now I want you to feel your outer hips. Even here, push the feet energetically apart. And let the sitting bones descend to the heels. So the sit bones are pushing to the heels. Come up through chair, Utkatasana. And this motion of dropping sit bones down to the heels solidifies this concept. So I'm not going to turn my butt out and I've disengaged the sit bones from the heels. I retract these muscles under the backs of the legs. I sit down, pointing the sit bones right to the heels, and then I lift the arms up, and then come up to Tadasana. If you're doing this well, you're getting a workout. But most people just fly right through it, and then they get injured. Okay? So let's go ahead and take a little bit of movement before we get too wound up into our actions. And then we'll get back into the nitty-gritty with our chairs. Utkatasana, we're going to sit down, engaging around the glutes, the outer hips. Now remember the feeling of the shoulders, the strap, and then forward fold. Left foot back to warrior one, then we'll reach high. Let's take the hands to the hips and lift the back heel and just take your thumbs and push the fascia of the back, low back down. You're going to come to a low lunge. Bring your hands to your front knee and let's inhale, sink a little bit lower. I want you to feel like you're pulling this left quad forward and pulling it toward that front heel so that your core is getting fully engaged. Inhale, come up, and let's pivot out to warrior two. Reverse warrior, and then side angle. So as you get into this pose, don't go too deep, and I want you to take your left hand to your sacrum and slide it toward your back heel. Now for beginners, this is enough. And you're tucking in your core here, and tap your belly with your right hand.
And the outer hips are super strong. Inhale, come up. And then turn the feet to parallel, hands to hips. Inhale. Exhale, forward fold, Prasarita. Hands to earth. Let the hips come forwards, they're balanced or lined right over the feet. And then drop in, walking the hands back. Head to floor if you have it. Or hands to ankles, pulling up. Again, feel the outer hips working. Muscles around the outer hips. Inhale, flat back, hands to hips, and then coming up. Turn forward, step the feet together, other side. Inhale, chair. Exhale, fold. Right foot back. Warrior one. Now, even if you were to stay in warrior one, eventually most people damage themselves because the hips are being played apart in a very unnatural way. You're going to lift that back heel, square the hips, and take the hands to the hips and sandbag, so to speak, the tailbone down. This is your work. And rather than trying to extend that back like back, we're pulling that right knee forward. Forward. And this will make a little more sense in a moment. Let's reach up. Now we can pivot out to warrior two. Reverse warrior. Side angle. Take our upper hand to our sacrum, the right hand, and push the sacrum as we had a towel roll earlier. Back. Inhale, come up. Feet to parallel, hands to hips. And folding in, Prasarita. Take it to your depth for 5 breaths while I grab water. And then when you come up, fortify the back hips. So the piriformis, the doris, and pushing out toward the heels, flat back, hands to hips, and then pushing down to come up. So turn the feet to the front of the mat, step the feet together. So that's the obvious. And now we're going to try to do the nitty-gritty by taking our chairs. And we're going to use our chairs here. If you have a wall, you can use them, but otherwise, no worries. And we're going to do the same series of poses using a chair. So if you have one with a tall back, I grab that. And we're going to start with the left leg forward, the left foot forward, and the right foot back. So remember where we just were, and we were in this sort of low lunge. But now we can come all the way down onto our chairs. And this right knee, I was saying, pull it toward you. So it's going to pull right into the chair. Going to snug right up into the chair, and the left hip and sitting bone should be grounded on the chair. Use whatever padding or extra towels you need. So now I really like we're clamping the knees toward one another, diagonally across the body. I've got my left hand up on the seat back, my right hand down, and this is the whole deal. It doesn't look like much, but as I pull the legs and the knees toward one another, I'm dragging my left heel and hip back, and my right hip forward, like they're sandwiching. That's a lot of work. You can go to the wall with the right hand and lean forward if you want. You can start to take a twist, your right forearm across your left knee, and start to rotate your chest to the left. But be really careful now that you don't unweight the structure in the hips and the back. A tendency
is to lift out of this left hip in order to get more rotation. I'd rather have you in a high twist like that. Let's come out of it, and then we can take the back foot to 90 degrees. And here's our warrior two. We're fully supported on the chair. And we can feel these hips now in a deep expression of this pose, cradle by the chair. Reverse warrior, come into your side angle. So same thing, you really want to pull back and engage around that left outer hip. So remember, I took the hand to the sacrum here and slid it back, brushing it back. And reach up and over to the wall if you want, and extend. So push into the wall, push into the right heel. But still driving that left hip and sit bone down into the chair. Come up, and you can use your hands in the front of the chair. Sitting in your chair, never thought you'd use it for this. We're going to come into Prasarita. Take a peek. Put my palms in the front of the chair, and pogo my legs out. Put my butt right up against the seat back. That way I can see, and you may need to slide your chair forward to pull your butt forward, even though it feels like you're going to fall over. And then you come down, hands to earth. Your chest is going to go right on the front of the chair. You can take your fingers and hold the front of the chair legs. Push your heels out. Some of you can reach back to the back legs of the chair and pull it into your chest. Push your hips back into the chair in resistance. Or you can walk your arms forward like a wide-legged down dog. And the chest is being supported as the tailbone and hips engage down and back. So this should give you a lot of structural points of connection. And this is my new material, so if you're wondering, oh, I don't know, then you can come up, your hands on the chair. So, can we just rotate the other way? If you want to use the wall, you can spin, but for the sake of time, I'm going to just do a Iyengar rotation. And now we're in our high lunge. We're not trying to come off the chair, we're just dropping the top of this left quad right into the back of the chair. And then we try to sit down with our right sit bone on the seat of the chair. So if you need a towel, you need something to support it. This is no small feat. Even for me to do this, for me to drag and push this back quad into the back of the chair to square my hips and to push down through the right sit bone, bring it back into the chair. I'll start to sweat after a while if I'm sandwiching in toward the center of the chair. Now, if you want to take a rotation, you can either just take your left hand to the outside of that right knee, without altering the hip structure, or you can come down to your forearm, but you're still squeezing. It's like squeezing the knees together. This is core work. So all these crazy poses that people have done in their youth, like this one, I can tell you that 99% of people that do them, they don't have this core work to protect the low back. So, injury ensues. Let's take a warrior two, and reset the back foot to 90. Now the hips are even further open, but through the chair, you can kind of sit down onto this right hip, get a little stretch through the inner leg, fine. But we're not hyper-arching our low back here, or extreme posterior tilt. We're finding that neutral that we just tried earlier. So remember how we're just rocking the hips back and forth, reverse warrior, and then side angle. So
pull that right hip down toward the chair and back toward the back heel. Take your expression of the pose and you're safe. And belly's pulled in. Remember we took the upper hand to the sacrum and just gently push back toward that back foot. Then you get the full release of the spine forward. Full extension of that left lateral body that's safe. Come up, take our hands to the front of the chair, square off, Prasarita again. So kick the heels out, take your hands, straight arms, the chair, and I like to pull it forward a little bit until the seat back comes right up against my sitting bones. I'll show you the side view. I don't know if I'm going to record this one, but a lot of people will sit their hips behind their heels. I'm guilty of this too. And then you overstretch the hammies and they tear. So if we pull the chair forward and align the hip over the foot, even though it feels like you're going to fall over, get one hand, the other hand back, and then grab the chair legs. Push your butt back into the chair, top, lay your chest down, and engage the outer hips. You reach the back, chair legs, and pull the chair into your chest, pull it into your back, your legs. Let the back of the legs push into the chair. So you're creating dynamic resistance and strength. Some can take the arms forward, like a wide leg down dog. Walk the hands back, up onto the chair, have a seat. One last one for those who want to open up their inner legs a little. And first of all, I know Anne's probably here. You never want to turn your feet straight out like that, even if you can do it. So please don't. This whole thing that we did initially with the strap and Supta Baddha Konasana was an effort to strengthen the core. So you just take the backs of your hands to your inner knees like this and create resistance. Create resistance, tailbone down, chest up, hands into inner knees push against hands. And you should feel the whole belly core tighten up. If you're beginning, you stay there. Now, if you want to work each side, the back extensors, you can lift one arm up and reach back. Make a fist, stretch the fascia in the back of the arm, and push that hand into that knee, come up. You're pushing the inner knee into the hand. That's the beginner exercise. Advanced, you start to come down, and you can have your hands to the ground, but I like to hold the chair, and the knees are going to clasp against the upper arms. Now watch the low back. If it's tight, you got to take it easy. Some people get their hands to the back of the chair, the back legs. Still, you're attenuating. The knees forward, the heels down. Hands come under the shoulders, flat back, and then one hand to one hip, the other hand to the other hip. That's a lot of work. And that one's a deep pose that you should be careful with. So that will be the work of the week, but let's come down onto our backs again, lose our chairs, and start to close off class with extended leg. We'll see how the hips feel now as we pull our knees into our body. And then take the strap around the left leg, kick it up to the sky, the right leg goes forward. And now see if you can do exactly what we've been doing, as if the knees and the legs are trying to squish together. They can't, but they're trying to move and magnetize toward each other. Now we take the strap ends in the left hand and open the leg to your degree. So where is it that you lose the muscles around the hip?
If it's just a foot away, fine. Some who have been doing yoga for a while can come all the way to the ground. But you want to make sure you're really retracting those deep outer hip muscles in the left leg as you do this. So you really should feel that left glute working. Come back up. Switch hands on the strap. Start to go the other way. Compacting the outer hips. Be honest with the stretch. Then we come to the right leg. Kick it up into the strap. Hand is around both. Right hand around both strap ends. Engage the leg into the strap. Inhale. Exhale, go out. Really feel around that right outer hip, those muscles engaging. So if those muscles are the ones that are pulling you down into the extension. Feel any pinching or overstretching of this pectineus muscle and the adductor, inner right leg, back off. Inhale the sky, left hand takes the strap, over you go. And we're not 21 years old trying to pull our foot all the way down and then just the low back is a mess. We're just working here with the strength around the pelvis and keeping the small fine muscles engaged. So let's take that off. Take our Shavasana for any final poses that feel good. And you should feel what are sometimes referred to as the shoulder loops that we created with the strap. You should feel the hip loops. And relaxing those into the ground. Relaxing the jaw, the tongue, and the throat. Letting the brain relax as well. And as you release the muscles from work, you should have created a little effervescence now. You should feel the microflow of energy in the body, the blood flow. And you can stay there as long as you want, or bending each knee, roll to one side, and coming up seated. So that's the work of the week. We'll do more with the straps on Wednesday, and I'll record these because it is new material that I feel strongly about. And let's sit now with this awareness of the hips and the muscles around the hips, and how the whole body sprouts out of the strength around the pelvic girdle. The shoulders then start to open like the top of a tree. They have their own structure. Palms come to the heart.